Alright, in this video we're going to be exploring westward expansion and really just land acquisitions. And some of our first land acquisitions that I'm going to touch on real briefly here is the Ohio River Valley and the 13 colonies. And I'm going to shade them in here so you can kind of have an idea of what these are. I'll shade them and try to do two slightly different shades of color, if that's a phrase that makes sense at all. Possibly I need to bring this down some. And I'm going to focus this screen, so my apologies. It's about to get real fuzzy real quick. Oh no! There you go. I can see. Hopefully that's better. Oh, it is a little bit. Okay. Section A, which is right here. Boop. A represents the 13 colonies. Now, the 13 colonies we get from Great Britain. And we get it, we declare independence, we declare in 1776, July 4th on Independence Day, what? And then it really becomes a reality, and Britain recognizes in 1783 with the Treaty of Paris that ends the American Revolution. So this is won through revolution. That's why actually I have both of these here. Now B, Section B, which is right here, this Ohio River Valley area, or otherwise known as the Northwest Territory. The Ohio River Valley becomes kind of noticeable and relevant to us when, I'm going to title this Ohio River. It becomes a big deal and we actually start caring about it when, oh, sorry, my eye. After we win it in the French Indian War. Britain gains after, I'm just called the F&I War, F&I War. Now, Britain gains this after the French Indian War. We want to move west. And then they say, colonists, you cannot cross the Appalachian Mountains, so we get upset. That's one of our primary causes for, or not primary, it's one of the reasons that we rebel and call for revolution. America gets it, gains after Treaty of Paris. It's part of the Treaty of Paris of 1783. This is Treaty of Paris, 1763. That ends the French and Indian War. Oh goodness, there we go. That is really kind of what you need to know about these. The reason I lumped them together is because they both have to do with after the Revolution. Both of these are gained after Revolution. So I'm going to write that big right here. Gained after American Revolution. Alright, gained after the American Revolution. Can't really tell if my screen is just like looking real bright here. Life's getting weird. Anyways, so here we go. Moving on. The next things that are required during our like new nation area, when we're still a new nation, we're still within the first like 5 or 6 presidents, we gain first the Louisiana Purchase, which is this big honk of land right here. And we also gain this bit right here. Now, Section C we gain, it's the Louisiana Territory, Louisiana Purchase. We gain it in 1803 from France, and, oh goodness, I just said from France, that's a problem. From France. And we get it because we originally want New Orleans. We want to gain New Orleans, and we're willing to pay $10 million for New Orleans. We end up spending $15 million for the entire Louisiana Purchase. It's from Francis of Napoleon. He needs money to fight his Napoleonic Wars. Beep, Napoleon. Now, Section D Florida. We acquire Florida through, the word that I'm looking for is a treaty, and it's the Adams-Onis Treaty. Now, it's kind of funny what happens here. Jackson actually just invades. He's going looking for Indians down here, Native Americans down here, and when he goes and looks for the Seminoles, he runs into them, fights them, and then Spain just decides they don't even want to be involved in this fight anymore. So Spain just says, we don't want to fight you for this land, so we're just going to give it to you. So the Adams-Onis Treaty is what we sign. We give them $5 million for the purchase of Florida, and that happens in 1819. And this is during, let's get this up some. This is during Jefferson. And this right here is during Monroe. Okay, so these we've kind of gone over. That's why I'm not saying a whole lot about them. You should know this. All right, next. So we thought double the size of the United States. It's a big thing. Doubled the size. Times 2. Next. Next we have the annexation of Texas. Now the annexation of Texas, Texas has gone through their own revolution. They've done all their own, they've taken care of their business. They've had a revolution. They've been their own country for 9 years, and no lie, it's a bit of an epic fail. Sorry, that's the bell. It's a bit of an epic fail, and because it's an epic fail, they desperately kind of need to get out of the hole. They're in a lot of economic debt. They're just kind of going through a lot of things. So what ends up happening, they apply for statehood. They apply for statehood. Statehood is granted, and they are added as the, I believe, 28th state. They're added as the 20th state to the Union. Now, all of this is fine. We annex Texas. We're good. All is well. But then something kind of awkward happens. This awkward thing that happens is that this almost directly leads to war with Mexico. This increases a lot of tension between us and Mexico. It's a big deal. Okay, so Texas annexation leads to war with Mexico. That's a big thing you need to know about it. There's other things you should know too, like James K. Polk, Mr. Manifest Destiny. He was president during this time, blah, blah, blah. Leads to war with Mexico, though. It's a big one. Next. Now, while this is going on, we also acquire the Oregon Country. Now, the Oregon Country is this little tidbit of land up here. The Oregon Country, the good thing about it, it establishes this line right here. And this line, if you can see where I'm drawing it, is the 49 north. It's 49 north. This is the 49th parallel. This is land. I'm going to write F here. F is Oregon. And we get Oregon. We sign the Oregon Treaty with Britain, which basically means that they'll take the land north of the 49th parallel. We'll take the land south of the 49th parallel. And that's just kind of how we're going to roll with this. Establishment of that 49th parallel, though, is a big deal. It's our northernmost boundary, 49 north. That is your big thing to know about the Oregon Country. Eventually, we'll have the Oregon Trail, which we'll talk about later. But Oregon ends up being a pretty large part of our country. Now, next thing. Mexican cession. Mexican cession happens, and oh man. We talked about before how we had the annexation of Texas leads to war with Mexico. Annexation of Texas leads to war with Mexico. So, it's Mexican cessions. Mexicans ceded this land to us. Now, what happens here is there's a bit of a land dispute, and this is a really horrible version of this. There's a bit of a land dispute as to where Texas ends. There's a land dispute, and Mexico is trying to tell us that Texas ends like here somewhere. We say no, it ends here at the Rio. It ends here at the Rio Grande. They say no, we say yes. Mexico says that this land down here, so Polk, who's up in Washington, sends troops down to guard the Rio Grande. They guard the Rio Grande. We send our troops. Boop. Mexico sends their troops up north. And because they do this, we're kind of standing at, they're kind of going toe to toe. We really provoke Mexico. No lie. We're not the best in this situation. We provoke Mexico. Mexico attacks us. Polk says his famous line, American blood has been shed on American soil. So what do? We go to war. We have the Mexican-American War. The result of the Mexican-American War is the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo makes the Rio Grande, which is land right here, is the border between Mexico and the U.S. Or it's not Mexico and the U.S. Well, it's the boundary of Texas, which is between Mexico and the U.S. It cost $15 million. We offer them $15 million for this land. And it's a result of Mexican War. Now, after all this happens, we also want to get this little hunk of land right here, which I'm going to call H. H is the Gadsden Purchase. And we really just wanted it for purposes of, we wanted the railroad. We wanted to be able to put a railroad through here. We get it from Mexico for a whopping $10 million, which seems ridiculous, but this is our final purchase of the U.S. in the U.S. That's redundant, sorry, because I have a $sign here and a $sign there. That's a little ridiculous. Something to know about Mexican cession and getting this land, there were people who disagreed with the Mexican-American War. They felt that it wasn't fair. If you remember, Henry David Thoreau refuses to pay his taxes because he disagrees with the war, and he knows that the money from his taxes are going to go to pay for the war. So there's that. Anyways, I hope that this was helpful to you, and I hope you do well on whatever exam or test you have. Yay!